don't even know what happened.
It's all the rain.
I
think it is.
I'm fully going to blame the rain.
I think it's the rain.
The internet
went down.
Listen, if Millie Vanilli can blame it on the rain, we can blame it on the rain. So we will wait a moment and let people get here.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, some crazy things happened.
I'm trying to.
Everything just shut down.
It was the internet, and look, we're hardwired in.
Yeah.
It's not even like we're on a Wi-Fi.
No.
It just like literally shut down.
There's a lot of rain. It's been raining.
It's been raining for like 3 months here.
It's been raining for 3 months in Jersey, apparently.
It has.
And
it's annoying.
Everything.
It's really annoying.
Just shut down.
Okay.
So we're back.
I'm having an issue here too. It's all technical stuff. Look at this.
You know what? Life happens on a Tuesday.
All right. Well.
What
okay. They're all coming back.
No, everything's great.
We're fine.
So give us some hearts because we
really
love technology. So we're back for round 2 of the Q&A experience.
And now we're back. And now we're reversed.
Now we're reversed.
Which totally throws me off.
I didn't
even notice.
Man.
All right.
Okay.
Hi guys.
So we'll go back to Michelle's question because that's where everything went crazy. It's Michelle from MommyCon Austin. Question: is it possible to have overworked ducts, like from nursing the twins? Could my breast be tender from constant use?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could, of course. You know, you're probably nursing quite a bit with twins. Your body is producing twice as much milk. So there's a lot of stretching and contracting going on. Think about it. If your baby's eating 4 ounces at a feeding and now you're making 8 ounces at a feeding, then, your body's working twice as hard. There's twice as much passing through. There's twice as much sucking. I mean, all of it is more. And I just saw somebody in there saying she's a triplet mom. So this one's for you too. Yeah, there's a lot more. So I would expect that there is a little bit more overuse. What is it that she claimed that she's feeling?
Could her breast be tender? As I clutched mine.
Are your breasts tender?
Everything's tender.
So yeah, there could be tenderness, but it's not the only reason. So you just want to make sure there's nothing else going on, that you don't have a plugged duct somewhere. Especially with making all that milk, you could have some plugged ducts. Make sure that you're taking care of that, or that there's no other issues.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Someone said you look traumatized.
I'm not traumatized. Tired.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Miriam has a question. How often to pump if we want to switch from direct latch to pumping? My little one is really struggling with our breastfeeding journey.
Well, first I'd find out what is going on. Make sure that you're seeing a lactation consultant. Make sure that you've exhausted all the possibility of keeping the baby latching. Sometimes there's issues like tongue ties, lip ties that can really make it really hard for your baby to latch. So from what you're describing, it doesn't sound like it's a milk supply issue. She's going right to pumping. But if the baby's having difficulty latch, make sure that you're seeing a lactation consultant first. When it comes to exclusive pumping, how often to pump? As frequently as you can, at least every 2 to 3 hours. Try to stick to the same schedule that your baby would do at that particular age. And so for a young baby, we're talking every 2 to 3 hours. And you want to do it frequently when you're pumping. It can be harder to get the milk out with the pump than what the baby can do. And so you want to make sure that you're not going long stretches, which can over time decrease the quantity of milk that you're expressing. And then as you decrease the amount that you're expressing, your breast milk starts to adapt to that and it starts to decrease itself. So it's like a supply and demand. And the less that you demand of it, the less that it will make. And then, the whole idea of when you're nursing, the fuller that your breast is, the more your body is going to get the signal to make less milk. So if you're waiting, and a lot of times this happens with pumping moms, nursing moms, everyone, that they wait, they're like, oh, let me wait till the breast feels a little bit fuller, then I'll go pump. Or let me wait till a little fuller, then I'll feed the baby. Baby just ate, hasn't been that long. That's a mistake because you want to keep your breast as empty as possible. The more empty your breast is, the more your body is getting the signal to make more milk. So you don't want to let yourself get too filled up.
Emily has a question, and this is also interesting. How do you know if your pump is dying? If it resembles my love life.
Oh. We love you, though. You get a lot of love.
So somebody said,
how do you know your pump is dying?
Somebody said you might want to replace the valves because they do wear out. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, make sure your valves are replaced.
Oh, Emily's already put her new valves on.
You're going to lose suction if the valves, and valves are parts that you need. Let's show them what a valve is. Valves are parts that do need to be replaced. They're not, why did I take that off? There's no valve on this one. This is not one that's actually in use. Without a valve, your pump's not going to work.
I got it.
So valves
they look
different
replaced on every pump.
Depending on how often you're pumping. If you're exclusively pumping, you need to be. It's going to throw off the.
Well, it's a little on this one. It's a little white hard plastic, and it has like a soft membrane on this guy, and this is what helps create this.
If it's not laying flat, if it's not closing up, then what's going to happen is exactly. If they're worn out. What's going to happen is you're going to lose suction to the breast, and it's going to seem like your pump's not working. If you're using your pump frequently, I would say every day, like you're back to work, those valves need to be replaced like at least every 2 to 3 months at a minimum. So it really all depends on how much you're pumping. I know a lot of moms who are using this pump and they're exclusively pumping. They're using it 7 to 10 times a day. And you may need to replace your valves and membranes even more frequently. But as soon as you're starting to lose suction, if you've already done that and it still feels like the pump's not working and your pump's tiny, then you need to. Most pumps are warranted, so I would call. The Evenflo feeding pump has a 1-year warranty, so if you have any issues, you can call within the first year.
And that's actually standard with most pumps.
Yeah, it should have a 1 year. Should have a 1 year.
Okay, let's see.
Should we talk about the milk? Since we poured it.
Yeah. So let's actually, this all kinds of it all kind of ties into like perceived low supply and all of this. It's like people don't really know how much a breastfed baby eats.
Yeah, I think that's important. So, I think that's like a really big deal. It's like, again, we were saying that whole perception, right?
Let's get parts if you like the use of props.
Who wants some props? We got props.
We like props. We brought lots of props.
Let's show them. We're sitting on the floor here.
We're sitting on the floor. So I'm having to constantly readjust because I ate a whole lot of food.
It was so good. Jamie made us steaks tonight, and they were delicious.
Grilled steak and corn.
So we're just kind of like lounging here. Yeah, we're pretty bloated. It was a lot. All right, so let's talk about belly size, okay? And, look, every baby is a little bit different, but we're going to talk about, just the sizing that babies have when they're first born. Their stomachs are really, really small. And the idea that your baby needs to eat a lot of volume in those first few days is really a misconception. And it goes along with what your body's actually doing. You're not making a lot of milk. And I always say this, if your baby was meant to eat large amounts of milk on day 1 or day 2, your body would make that. It's not like some mistake of nature where your baby's needing all this milk and you don't have any. And you're not the only one, okay? It takes several days for your milk to come in. So those first few days, the baby's eating colostrum. That's what's there in the beginning. Then what happens is the baby's born, okay? After the baby's born, the placenta comes out. When that placenta delivers, there's a huge fluctuation in hormones. So the placenta comes out, progesterone drops really sharply, prolactin rises, and 3 to 5 days later, your full milk will start to come in, all right? But those first few days, it's colostrum, and there's a reason that your baby's only supposed to be eating that. I'm going to show you in a bottle what that looks like as far as volume, okay? The first day, this is about how much the baby's eating, okay, per feeding. And I'm talking about from both breasts. And you're going to do that frequently, okay, frequently, because it's not about getting them more volume or food. They're going to be peeing, they're going to be pooping out meconium. This is all what they've been drinking as far as the amniotic fluid, and they're kind of overhydrated when they first come out. They've been gulping down that amniotic fluid. They need a few days to release some of that fluid. That they come out juicy. I talk about juicy. Okay.
Speaking of meconium, here's a pro tip.
Yeah.
Pack some coconut oil or something in your hospital bag. So when that baby comes out, you slather that butt up with it, and it helps to get the meconium off easier.
That's a good tip.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a tip for you right there.
Very good tip.
You're welcome.
Especially with those dry wipes that they give you, because they don't want you to use regular wipes on the baby. So it can be, just water's not going to get it off. It's very sticky and thick. All right. And then finally, when the milk does start to come in, here's a good example. It's really hard to see, right, with the lighting.
Yeah. White is hard with white.
White is really hard. Can you see it better? Not really. No. Okay. Not really good. Not a really good example tonight of the props didn't work.
But you know what? This is 4 ounces.
Yeah.
When you look on the bottle.
But even that.
There you
go.
That's a little bit better.
Okay, that's a full feeding, all right?
4 ounces.
So let's talk for a second.
Here.
Yeah, these big giant bottles, like
formula.
8-9 ounces, that's more formula than breast milk. Breastfed babies are not going to eat those big, tall bottles. And so even when I talk about getting, and I know, when we help moms talk about what to get, what to prepare for, what kind of bottles to buy. If you're planning to breastfeed, getting the very large bottles might not be a good idea. When you're putting 3 ounces in it, it looks like it's not enough, when actually it's a full feeding. And so if you're pumping out 3-4 ounces and you think, oh my gosh, I'm pumping out enough right now, but what's going to happen when they're 6 months, or what's going to happen when they're 8 months? I mean, 8-9 ounces. That doesn't happen. The amount that they eat actually decreases because they're eating fewer feedings much of the time when they started eating some solids, but the amount that they eat per feeding is not really going up at all.
Yeah, and I think that also I remember for when I worked in retail and helping people with their registries, when I didn't really know as much as when I went through classes and started doing this all the time, you would register women for these giant bottles and get a ton of them, but it's I think it's almost a subliminal thing, as a woman, you go in there and you see these bottles, and it's the idea of that is what my baby is supposed to be drinking.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
And I'm not putting.
It's intimidating. Yeah, that's why I think big giant bottles for breastfeeding moms is not a great idea.
Yeah.
And especially if you're leaving them for a caregiver and you've got this big bottle and you've got this much milk at the bottom, it looks like it's not enough when actually it's a full feeding. 4 ounces, maybe 5, usually 3. It really all depends on how frequently your baby eats. So, that's a big question that comes up, is that, how much should you be pumping if you're pumping and you're leaving your baby? How much milk do you leave?
We have people asking right now.
Okay, how much milk do you leave? All right, well, I'll answer it. You're typically looking at about 1 to 1.25 ounces per hour is how much you will produce of breast milk. So think about that, 1 to 1.25 ounces. If you're talking about feeding every 2 hours, we're talking about 2 to 2.5 ounces per feeding. Babies eating more frequently, it's less milk. If you're going 3 hours or 4 hours, that means that your breast capacity, the amount of milk that your body can hold in your breast, is larger than maybe the woman next to you or your sister, whoever it is. And you can go longer between feedings, and your baby can go longer, and they're getting more milk at that feeding. So when you're calculating how much to leave for the baby, think about how many hours you're going to be gone, and estimate about 1 to 1.25 ounces per hour for the total amount of hours that you'll be gone. Divide that by how many feedings you're going to have, and you'll know how much to put into a bottle. So say you're gone for 8 hours, right? 8 to 10 ounces is about 1 to 1.25. That's about how much you're going to leave.
I'm trying to catch a couple questions that keep popping up. Carly Henry, one of my Canadian followers, audience, whatever, just past 35 weeks, first time mom. Very happy for you guys. Is it necessary to hand express some colostrum into a cup, or put in a syringe and freeze for when the baby comes? I can't read the rest of the question, but I guess is it okay? Is it necessary?
It's not it can't hurt. It's not going to hurt. And if you're actually leaking enough colostrum to collect it into a syringe, then yeah, go ahead and do it. I mean, it can only be a good thing that after the baby's out, if you needed that little bit of extra, okay.
Will it mess up how my supply comes in?
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not going to have any impact on your supply at all. It'll just give you that little bit of extra colostrum should you need it when the baby's born. But remember, you're going to be making colostrum too. So you'll have what you need. And it doesn't impact how your milk comes in because, and what it doesn't do, and I think this was actually one of the other questions somebody left, what it doesn't do is help your milk to come in faster by pumping or expressing milk during pregnancy. Again, it's exactly what I was saying before with the whole idea of the hormonal shift that occurs with the placenta. So that is how milk comes in. Your colostrum starts around midway through the pregnancy. Milk starts after the placenta is delivered as a trigger from the placenta being delivered.
So it will not, if she has enough colostrum where she can collect it, that will not start milk production.
No.
It's placenta falling out.
Something like that, yes.
It's called bye-bye placenta, hello milk.
Placenta is an organ. It's an organ that you grow during pregnancy. It's pretty cool, actually, that you grow an organ that produces all these hormones, that has all these blood vessels, that feeds your baby. It's the lifeline to your baby. And when it produces those hormones, which are large amounts of progesterone, other things that keep the pregnancy going, once that comes out, it's a sudden drop. So you have a huge shift in your hormones when that placenta comes out. You're delivering an organ that produces a hormone. And when that happens, it allows prolactin to take over, and that's how your milk does come in. It has nothing to do with pumping or nipple stimulation during the pregnancy.
There you go.
How is that impacted if the baby is delivered via C-section? Good question. So it's really not impacted in the sense that your body does not know or care which way the placenta came out. So if it came out through a vaginal birth or came out through a C-section, your placenta is still delivered. You're still going to have that hormonal shift. That being said, there are other things that can factor into your milk coming in slower after C-section, especially if you've had an emergency C-section, if you've had a lot of IV fluids, if you had a really long labor and induction that ended in a C-section. All those things can actually, if you had a lot of bleeding, any of those things can impact your milk coming in delayed or having a decrease in milk supply and things like that. So, but as far as like the hormones, the placenta, none of that will be impacted. Your body has no way of knowing which way it came out. It just knows it did.
Yeah. This is Amber, and it's a similar question. She may be watching, she might not be. I love advice on upping my supply while exclusively pumping. I wanted to breastfeed so bad, but was forced to bottle feed after my son lost too much weight. Of course, after the bottle, he didn't want to breastfeed anymore. I only make 16 ounces a day. I am extremely proud of those 16 ounces, but that's just not enough. I would love for him to have only breast milk. I feel like I'm doing so much work for so little. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. My son is 9 weeks old, and I pump 7 or 8 times a day for 30 minutes at a time.
You know, how much is she able to pump out?
16 ounces.
16 ounces a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I find that it, in the absence of some major issue, which it doesn't sound like it, to be able to produce 16 ounces, there's a very good chance that you could produce 24. You could produce more. You know, the fact that your body, that you have enough glandular tissue to produce 16 ounces, that you have enough of the hormones that are actually there to produce the milk. I talked about this in my low milk supply module that I did last week, talking about there are primary and then there are secondary issues for true low milk supply. You know, when you get rid of the perceived stuff where you think you have a low milk supply and you don't, and you get into like you really don't have enough, there are secondary issues that are caused by something you did or the baby did. And that means that you either didn't nurse frequently enough, you didn't express enough, which then had the secondary effect of creating a low milk supply issue that now you can reverse. Okay. That's the good news with a secondary issue, is that it's usually reversible because it's caused by something you did, obviously not intentionally, but you can reverse it. And a lot of times if you're exclusively pumping, that thing that you did was either you didn't pump frequently enough. Like I was saying before, the baby's going to be more efficient usually than the pump, so you may have to do it more frequently. And or you didn't have a pump that gets the milk out the way that you need to. You didn't know how to use it, or it didn't have the controls that you needed to be able to fully express the milk. I have a video that we can't show you now. I was gonna show it to you, but the computer shut down and I can't show it to you right now.
So we're using a different program.
Yeah, but if you go to after the stream, if you go right to my Facebook wall, it's the video that I have pinned to the top of my page on Facebook, and it is my 3-stage pumping method for getting multiple letdowns with your pump. And what that means is maximizing the amount that you can pump out. And any of you have watched the video, you can go ahead and chime in. But what you need to be able to do that is a pump that has one of the features that I always recommend in a pump, which is individual speed and suction controls on your pump. That means that you can adjust both of them separately. And you'll understand when you watch the video why that's so important. Being able to simulate what a baby would do during the letdown, what a baby would do to stimulate a second letdown, a third letdown. So the letdown means that the milk starts to express. You'll see that soon after you start pumping, or you'll hear the baby swallowing when you're nursing. But you can stimulate that to happen more than one time if you have the right controls and you know how to use a pump. It occurred to me like a couple years ago that like people don't know how to use a pump. Like they think you just turn it on and you put it on and you turn it up as high as it can go, and then you just suck the milk out. And that is not at all how you use your breast pump. You're trying to use it in a way where it is going to stimulate that hormone response, that oxytocin. And so it can't hurt, first of all, and you don't want to use suction that causes pain. Any kind of pain is going to stop your letdown. So can we go over the features on the pump?
No, it's just about to say we might as well, since we have it and we're here.
That was one of the features. There are 4 like really main features that I look for when I'm choosing a breast pump. And for those of you guys that are thinking about which pump to get, or you're wondering about the Evenflo feeding pump and why did we design it this way, it actually has all the features that I recommend. And there are certain functional features. Remember, it's a machine. It's a piece of medical equipment that you're putting on your body. You're extracting breast milk and you're feeding your baby. It's a really important baby product, okay? It's one of your most important baby products. So you really need to be clear about what are you looking for. It's not about, you want to have a nice bag, but that's not the most important piece. When you're evaluating your breast pump, and if you've never had a baby before, you don't know what to look for. These are the features that I would consider. One is what I just said about the individual speed and suction controls, okay? So one controls speed, one controls suction, and you can do them independently. Not all pumps are like that.
Some are just a dial.
Some are just a dial. Some have a button that it does it for you. Not everybody will let down at the same speed, okay? Not everybody's going to let down at the same timing. And so what that does is it tries to simulate that, but it really is not going to be as effective as learning how to use it yourself and having the control over it.
You know what's not a letdown? Flower Power by Ithaca Brewing Company. Highly recommended.
I love that.
It's one of my very favorite beers.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, the second feature is that you want to look for a pump that comes with multiple flange sizes included in the box, okay? The Evenflo feeding pump comes with 3 sizes included with your pump. That's really important. The flange is the piece that you put up against your breast. It has the hole here, and these are different sizes. You may need different sizes for each breast. You may need a different size right after you deliver, and then 2 months later you need a different size. So having them there where you could try them out, because there's no way to measure. It's not like a bra where you take a tape measure out. It really isn't. I've seen people try to come up with methods for this. It doesn't work. And a lot of that is because it's not just about the size of your nipple. It could be about the elasticity of your nipple too. So you really got to try it on and see which one works. How you'll know it works is that you get the milk out really good and it doesn't hurt. All right, that's how you know it works. It's not rubbing. It's not drawing too much of the areola in. When it's just right, you'll get your milk out and it's not going to hurt. This one also has these nice soft silicone flanges. This is awesome.
I was going to talk about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It has this silicone insert. And my sister, one of the reasons this all came about is because my sister has 4 children. She used almost every pump available on the market. And when Evenflo sent her the pump to try, she wrote me, and it's like I've told everyone at Evenflo, it's like my initial reaction was like an Evenflo breast pump.
Yeah.
But Jennifer was like, no, it's the most comfortable pump I've ever used. It's wonderful. We have to find a way to work with them. So that's how this all started.
Yeah.
Was my sister really liking the product.
Yeah.
Just to be completely transparent.
Yeah, it's a great product.
So she loved the pump. And then it also has, the flanges are also angled instead of just sticking straight out like a lot of pumps. So then you would have to like lean over because you don't want the milk backing up. So because these are angled, you can actually sit properly and you can hook them into a bra, you can Facebook, you can do whatever you need to do with your life and pump, and you're not going to deal with any kind of backed up milk and
well, it's really hard on your neck and on your shoulders when you have to lean forward. Otherwise, you get the backflow.
Yeah.
And you have to keep taking the pump off and then wiping off your breast and drying off because you lose the suction. You lose the seal if you get too wet. So being able to sit back, they're considered sit back, slouch-free flanges. So it's a really good feature. It's not one of the main features that we talk about as far as functionality, but it's a really nice.
It's like icing.
Evenflo has a lot of really nice, icing. Nice icing.
It's got real good cake.
Yeah.
But you got good buttercream.
Yeah.
I prefer a buttercream. I really do.
The third feature we showed earlier was the closed system. This really should be the number one feature. This is how I kind of pick and choose which pump I would even consider.
Yeah.
Is like closed or open, closed or open, closed or open.
That's number one.
It's your first question. First question is closed or open. Then I would say, flanges and controls going to affect how you get your milk out. Lastly, and I've added this feature because I think this is super important, is that the pump has a battery option to it so that it can take batteries. And this pump takes AA's right into the pump itself. That means that you can keep, and make sure that you're buying good batteries, like the good brand, like real brand batteries, not the cheap batteries. The pump just works best with good batteries.
I've never heard of EVL batteries.
This is because I don't actually use it. Yeah. If I was using it, I would be using good quality batteries on the pump. But make sure you're using good batteries. But having a battery option is really, really important because you never know when you're going to need to use a pump. There's no outlet near you, especially if you're at work or if you're on the go. The pump is really nice and compact and small, and it has these really cool bottle holders, and they're secure too. Like they're going to actually stay put. What's he doing? Lucky.
Just hanging out.
Hi, baby.
He was like, he smelled my socks. Ew! Lucky's been looking up Craigslist ads, apparently.
He's sitting right next to you.
He wants my foot.
I know. He loves your foot.
He's getting warmed up to me. It's been a while since I've been here. And Lucky is obsessed with my feet. He likes to just lay down on my feet.
I told him this morning that you were coming. I said, the foot's coming.
The foot. He loves a foot, but only my foot.
I don't know. He doesn't do that to anyone else.
Anyone
else.
It's so crazy.
And now he's cuddled up next to Jamie.
Under my leg.
He loves you. He hates the camera. He hates the camera. You need a dog.
I need a dog.
Yeah. Little dogs are the best.
Well, I've
had big dogs all my life. Now I have a little dog and I love it.
On Sundays in Denver, one of the gay bars my friends and I will go to every now and then, they do a beer bust. And it's 4 to 8 o'clock, $10, all the beer you can drink. But the beer partners with like a local organization or charity so that half the proceeds go to them. So it'll be like a senior center or, the gay men's choir in town. But they partner with dog shelters, animal shelters all the time. So before I came here, they partnered with a no-kill animal shelter in Denver. So I started following them on Instagram, and it makes me cry because they get all these puppies. I need a dog. Yeah, you got to be home. Well, my travel schedule is actually not that bad in the fall. That's good. And if you have someone who can watch the dog. Yeah, my neighbor. There's nothing like having a dog. I love him. I love having him. Yeah. Swerve. Swerve off the path again. Yeah. Yeah, I mean we've covered supply so much, right? So much.
And Joe, can you post that? Just post that up, the link for everybody, because everybody's been asking me about my low milk supply video. It was only up for 24 hours because it is one of our new courses. But you guys can go to the link and get it.
I'm going to. This is a question from Ashley. I have one inverted nipple that only produces 1 ounce, while the other produces 2 to 3 ounces when I pump. However, the inverted side is much smaller than the other side by about 2 cup sizes. Is there a way that I can bring the inverted side supply up? I don't favor the other side. Also, the inverted side has little white balls in the center, and if I flick them, sometime I can get milk to come out. But other than that, but then the next time they're there again. Any help would be great. I don't want to lose my supply on that side. I also hate when my husband questions why one side is so small and if it'll ever look normal. Hyphen self-conscious mom.
Aww. Listen, we are not symmetric, and our bodies do not.
When we first started talking about this, Sherry Creaso, did I not say it is the same thing with balls on a man?
You did.
Testes
you
are not.
I'll actually never forget you saying that.
There's always one that hangs a little bit lower. It's a little bit bigger. Like, people aren't symmetrical.
We're not symmetrical. Our breasts are not symmetrical. It's very rare to find someone who has exactly symmetrical breasts, and especially when you're breastfeeding. Not only will they be different sizes, but typically you have one side that's like the producer, where you have more milk from one breast than the other. For some people, it can really be pronounced, like really dramatically. And you may see that the baby favors one side over the other, depending on your baby's preference. Sometimes the one side that's the producer could be an oversupply issue where the baby's gagging and choking, doesn't want to eat on it. In some cases, like for me, my right side made like twice as much than the left side. And my baby, my first child, by the time she was 4 months old, completely rejected the left side. She was like, and just knowing her now at 15, I totally get it. Like she was like in that battle, you know, from 4 months old. And so I wound up not nursing much on the left side and didn't realize at the time I wasn't a lactation consultant when she was born. I was a midwife. I was delivering babies. This just goes to show you. I had been in the field of taking care of parents, you know, as a labor and delivery nurse. I was a nurse midwife. I delivered hundreds of babies when I had my first, and I knew so little about breastfeeding from my education that I didn't realize that as the milk started to dry up on the left side, the sodium content starts to go up. And what happens is, we were talking earlier about how high the lactose is and how sweet the milk is. When you're weaning or the milk starts to dry up or the breast starts to what we call involute, okay, involution is that drying up process, it actually gets salty. So the milk gets salty, and I didn't know that at the time. So I kept trying to, once the process started from just kind of favoring one side over the other, and I tried now to put her to the left side, she would get super angry and not want to nurse from that side. And I didn't realize till I actually one day tasted the milk, and it was salty, and the other side was sweet. So you had they kind of go good together.
So interesting.
But babies don't like salty milk, and so
it's like when you put M&Ms in the popcorn.
Yeah, except it just doesn't work the same. Just somehow it doesn't translate the same way. I don't know. But a lot of people don't realize that the milk actually gets salty, and
interesting.
Yeah, it's the body's way of assisting the weaning process. Think about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like why when you're pregnant you don't really sleep towards the end of the pregnancy.
Your body is amazing. Your body is amazing. And so one of the things you want to do is, like she said, she's not ignoring the one side. She's not favoring the one side. Can she equal the milk? Can she get it to a point where she's even or her breasts are even? Probably not. Probably not. I think trying to even them, you can do a better job in keeping them as even as you can, where you're, really pumping from both sides or feeding from both sides so you don't cause a bigger issue. But to get them even doing it, it's probably not going to happen, or it would already be even.
Yeah.
The fact that it happened is probably a telling sign that she's just making more milk on one side than the other. The little white balls that she's talking about, those could just be what we consider milk blebs, or like little milk blisters that can form at the tip of the nipple where the milk kind of solidifies. You got to be careful with those. They're really painful too.
Well, there was a question on here that just said milk blisters?
That was
Question
the
mark.
whole question. All right, so with a milk blister, that's again, it's that milk solidifying into the opening of the milk duct, the nipple pore where the milk comes out. So, and you can see it like a little white blister right on the tip of the nipple. They're usually very painful. Soaking is usually the best way to deal with that. So you're actually dipping your breast into a bowl of hot water when you have that milk blister will soften it enough to either pump it out or let the baby nurse and suck it out. In severe cases, it could require you going to your doctor or your midwife to have them kind of open it up with a needle to get it to come out. Don't do it yourself.
No.
People try to do this themselves. You could create a bad infection. You could really hurt yourself. Don't do that. But soaking it, and also, Rachel's Remedies, those moist packs.
Those things are awesome.
They're awesome. So they're like flaxseed, round flaxseed discs that have a waterproof covering, and then on top it has like a fabric that you can wet, and then that way you can wear them inside your bra for plugged ducts, mastitis, milk blebs, engorgement, even just before pumping. So because that moist heat is going to help you to, it's going to help the circulation. It's going to help your milk to let down easier. It's going to increase your prolactin. All of it increases. So it's actually really great to have moist heat. That's just a way to do it, like kind of on the move.
I'm trying to read. Do you have any videos about vasospasms?
Vasospasms. I don't have any videos, but we could talk about it for a minute.
I don't even know what those are.
There's something that can happen. It's like a Raynaud's syndrome or a vasospasm of the nipple. For some people, it's like a constriction that occurs when you nurse. So you nurse the baby, and then you can have a vasoconstriction of the nipple. How you'll know that is the baby comes off at the end of the feeding. There's a lot of pain in the nipple, and the nipple's turned white. It like blanches because you have a reaction where it constricts all the blood flow going to the nipple. So that's what she's talking about.
So it's a vascular spasm.
It's a vascular issue. It's a spasm and a constriction of the blood vessels going to the nipple that occurs from the baby sucking. And it's fairly common. People do see it. One of the ways to deal with it is heat. So immediately when you know your baby, because you won't feel the pain usually during the feeding, it's right after the feeding. What you can do is get like a nice hot washcloth or a Rachel's Remedy or something that's going to give you some nice heat. And then as soon as the baby comes off the breast, put the heat right to the nipple. That again, the heat is going to open up the blood vessels and get the blood flowing again. So it gets rid of that pain, but it's pretty painful. It's Raynaud's. You can get it in your hands too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Raynaud's in the nipple.
Okay. Well, we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's 10:23. And aside from that 3-minute glitch, like this went by real quick.
Really fast tonight. Seriously. Can I tell about my live stream tomorrow?
Yeah, of course.
I have a live stream tomorrow night. So if you guys are around, same time, 9 o'clock Eastern on my Facebook page, it's on Tummy Time. We have a great speaker tomorrow night. And so if you guys are curious about learning about Tummy Time, come on over and check it out. Joe can put up a link too for you, but it's a good one tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I'm going back to New York on the train.
Don't go. We like having you here.
I know, but I got things I gotta do now,
Right.
and then I'm back to Denver on Friday. And I'm trying. When I rebooked this flight, it's really that I wasn't paying attention because I land in Denver at 11:30 p.m. and I have tickets to Sing Along Labyrinth that starts at 10:30 that night. So unless I can change my flight Friday morning,
really?
I'm not.
You missed it? Oh.
So cross your fingers for some good flight juju.
I thought you were going to say the next day.
So hopefully we get it fixed.
Well, all I can say is I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so happy that it worked out.
I'm so happy this worked out.
The rain actually was a blessing. I've been cursing it for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And now it actually got Jamie.
The rain
over.
kept me in New York.
Kept him in New York. We
So
got him
there
into Jersey.
we go.
Yay.
So thank all of you for hanging out. Thank you, Evenflo.
Thank you, Evenflo.
Thank you, Shari.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ithaca Brewing Company. Thank you, Lucky. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Laundry. So yeah, that's good. Okay. Somebody's asking me about different locations. Somebody said they want to move, and I've been enough places they want my opinion.
Aw.
I've been everywhere.
Yeah, you have.
So yeah, thank you for hanging out. And make sure you heart this. Make sure you comment, whatever. Yeah, Evenflo, we'll see you in Chicago next
Can't
month.
wait. Bye, Lise. Mwah.
Chicago
Bye,
Baby
Christina.
Show. What?
Bye, Lise.
So Evenflo, we'll see you next month. All of you, I see you all the time.
Yes.
It's great. So good night, everyone. Make sure you thank Evenflo for this, for allowing this to happen. And we will see you later.
Okay. Good night,
thanks
everyone.
for hanging out. We hope we helped.
Yes, I hope this helps.
That's the goal.
Bye. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.